So we're still working on manually creating and sending and signing an account on the Bitcoin Regtest net. So since the last video, I have altered this this command so that it now includes change. So this is the reference for the unspent transaction output. This is the address corresponding to this public key. And this is a change address belonging to the wallet of the Bitcoin client. So remember that this thing has, actually I think you can still see the arithmetic I did down here. So this UTXO is worth 13.23. So I take away 5 and also a little bit for a transaction fee. So I'm paying a 0.001 transaction fee. And that turns out to be this number, so that's what I'm paying back to the Bitcoin client wallet in change. And so I have successfully entered the command, and I get this raw transaction. And let's decode it and see what it says. Alright, so it has one input, and as of yet this input is not signed. And it has 2 outputs. Both of them are just regular pay to public key hash transactions with those 2 addresses. So everything looks good. Now the only thing left to do is to sign, well, 2 things are left to do. One thing is to sign the UTXO, and the other thing is to send it. So I'll pause the video and then figure out how to do those 2 things. So first I just wanted to point out that if you don't worry about entering your own private key, and you take advantage of the fact that the originating UTXO was produced by the bitcoin-cli wallet, then it's very easy. You just do bitcoin-cli regtest sign transaction. By the way, this is a Unix bash variable, and I'm using them in imitation of this, which is bitcoin.org/English/developer examples. And yeah, so it saves a little space on the command line, but it's not strictly necessary. If you want to see what that is, you can do this. So that's just the raw transaction that we've been playing with. Now I'm trying to go on and do something a little bit more general, which is to sign the transaction not using the fact that the UTXO belongs to this wallet. So I've been kind of following what this guy has done. Basically, I've copied his work and I'm just changing some numbers. And so I believe this is it. So he's going to, I guess I need to delete this part too. So Bitcoin client regtest. Need to put that in. Sign raw transaction. This is the system variable with the raw transaction. Then this transaction ID vout stuff is from the transaction belonging to the UTXO. So this is the UTXO that we're trying to spend. So I copy some of the stuff from this record into those fields. So for instance, this is the transaction ID. So I plug that in right there. The vout is 1 because the UTXO we're trying to spend has index 1. And I have this, which is the script, and this is the locking script. The assembler code is there, and this is the compiled version. So I have pasted that in, and then I've left redeem script empty. This is something that you would fill in if this were a pay to script hash transaction, which it's not. And then I have the private key. That's just another bash variable that's equal to that number, and this is the sig hash type. So as we've talked about in class, this means that we're going to assign all inputs and all outputs. And I haven't tried this yet, so let me paste it in and see what happens. I might have to pause the video and make some adjustments if it doesn't work. So let's see. Alright, and I got an error. It says invalid private key. So I'm going to pause the video and try to solve that problem. So I've tried to sign a message with the private key and then verify that the associated address corresponds to the public key, and I get true. So now it just seems like the private key does belong to the address, so I'm not sure what the problem is. Still working on it. So I've just used the bx tool over here to rederive the Bitcoin address from the public key. So now I'm more certain than ever that it's the correct public key.